Today, I want to talk about a place that is born from our collective unease. And for a lot of us, this place remains lingering in our childhood memories. And while it's not technically a real place in the traditional sense, for some, that feeling of being trapped in this place with its endless, wrong corridors is all too tangible. And this is a place where familiar discomfort twists itself into genuine fear. I am going to tell you two stories sent to me by viewers who found themselves in locations that were so unsettling that the psychological impact still haunts them to this day. Have you ever felt it? That creeping dread and the sense that something is just profoundly wrong with the place. And I'm not just talking about it being haunted or cursed, but that there's something fundamentally broken. It's as if the very walls are breathing, changing somehow, and the air itself is thick with some sort of unspoken terror. If you remember being in a place like this, especially when you were younger, you're not alone. For years now, there have been stories of a place beyond our reality. A place of endless corridors where the lights buzz with a maddening drone. And the silence is so loud that you can hear it. Today, we are going to be talking about the Backrooms. I have received a lot of personal, scary stories from you guys over the past couple of years, and I have loved hearing about your brushes with the unexplainable and the downright terrifying. But I received one a few months ago that sent shivers down my spine. It had everything that I personally find terrifying. Enclosed spaces, the distinct feeling of being alone, but certain that you're also somehow not alone, a seemingly endless void into an unknown space, being alone in a large, dark building after hours. And yes, that is a genuine fear of mine, and I have no idea why. But the big one, the terrifying realization that you are in trouble, and you don't know if somebody is coming to help you. Thank you so much to Iva for sending in this first story. And remember, you can find my email down below if you have your own scary story to send me. It was the early 90s, and Iva was busy working as a travel agent whose office was located in an old mall. It was a Friday night, the beginning of spring, and she had a full list of clients that she was preparing for holidays all over the world. As she sat at her desk booking hotels and confirming spa appointments and meal planning, going over flight schedules and layovers, she had kind of lost track of time, and everybody, even the receptionist, had not noticed that Anna was still working in her back office, and they had all taken off for the night. After finishing up for the night, Anna collected her things and she went to leave the same way that she did every single day, through the back door that connected their office to the parking lot. But just as she was about to open that door, she got the sinking feeling that if she were to open it, she would accidentally trigger the mall's security alarm. If she were to open that door now, the entire mall could possibly sound with the deafening alarm system. The police would be on scene, her boss would be called, and she just wanted to go home. She turned back towards the front of the office, which connected into the mall. It was an open space with no door, so she was free to walk into the mall, but it was a little bit creepy at this time of the night. The main lights were shut off. Mannequins peeked out from store windows with their creepy, uncanny smiles. The usually loud and boisterous place was dead silent, and she got the distinct feeling that somebody was watching her. She passed it off as just walking by the creepy mannequins, but the feeling just wouldn't go away. She figured it's probably just the night security guard or the mannequins, and she hurries through the mall. She goes through the food court, noting how more than ever she had never been in this part of the mall this late, ever. There were no smells coming from the usually crowded food vendors, no smells of coffee, no kids laughing, no shopping bags piled up on the benches. It was just her in this giant mall. Even the escalator, which had been turned off hours ago, sat as still as the creepy wax mannequins. She wasn't afraid, just a little unnerved. And if you ever experienced being in your elementary school at nighttime, perhaps for a Christmas concert or a play, think about that feeling that you had as a little kid. Seeing your school at nighttime, like there was just something weird about it. Iva hurries down the escalator, and she makes her way to one of the main entrances of the mall. Unfortunately, though, the security bars had already been locked across them, and they were as solid as a prison cell. She was completely locked in for the night. She stayed calm though, no big deal. She would just go and find Tom, the security guard, and he would unlock the doors for her. She would probably get him to walk her to her car as well, because she didn't really want to walk out there alone now. She makes her way back up this silent escalator, and she heads for the security office. She's not exactly sure where it is. She kind of has a general idea. It's down one of those long, seemingly empty, fluorescent lit hallways. The ones in malls that usually lead to the bathroom. I'm sure you know the exact kind of hallway that I'm talking about. Most malls have them. They are frequently these long and straight hallways, creating the sense of distance from the main shopping areas. Their design choice can feel a little bit isolating. The lighting is usually just a little bit dimmer than the mall itself, and they can kind of feel like behind the scenes spaces, almost not intended for a public view. I don't know about you, but I find those hallways creepy during regular mall hours, so I can't even imagine how creepy it would be to have to walk down one of them when the mall was completely closed. Iva heads down this hallway, passing the washroom that she's never used before, and she passes by a janitor's closet. She passes by a couple service doors that she knows probably lead to outside, but she's not willing to open them to get out. But then this hallway, it just keeps on going. There's no stores, there's no doorways. It's just kind of an off-white hallway, which feels like it has no end in sight. And she feels like she's been walking for 10 minutes in a straight line and going nowhere. But finally, far down at the hallway's vanishing point, she sees a suggestion of a doorway. But something about it is off. It's not really built like the rest of the doors in the mall. It almost seems hidden. And it also kind of seems like it was built in a different time. It was more of a disruption in the wall, Iva said. Kind of a seamless, oppressive gray with this vague rectangular shape at the end of the hallway. Even the door handle seemed too small for it, and this door just seemed so out of place. What room would be this far down from all the others and all the way from access to the mall? What could possibly be in there? Maybe it's the security office, she thinks. I've actually described it as opening your favorite VHS tape, only to realize that somebody had put the wrong tape back inside the box. And I know that's kind of a weird description, but I think that was kind of the point. All she wanted to do was find the security office so she could get out of the mall, and she was pretty certain that this was not the right door. But she had walked that far, so she knocked and got no answer. She gently called out Tom's name, the security officer. Then she loudly called out his name, but still got no answer. She went ahead, opened the door, and she was expecting a small, cozy office with likely a computer monitor and maybe some visuals of the mall itself. But the door opened to this tiny little space with barely enough room for her to even walk inside. There was an old metal desk with paint chipping off of it sitting to the right. Stacks of papers filed in these old water-damaged folders sat on top of it. There was no computer, no monitors, nothing. And this room had a very dirty, very dingy feeling to it, like the door had not been opened in years, and whoever had been working at that desk at one point was now long gone. Connecting to this strange little space with these buzzing fluorescent lights was a small hallway that opened up to a larger area on either side of it. And she could hear what she thought sounded like somebody walking around down there on tiled floor. Hoping that it was Tom or maybe another security guard, she walked a little bit further into the open area, thinking maybe they can't hear me. And the carpets got dirtier as she walked in. The buzzing noise intensified, and the flickering of the lights got eerier with each step. Now, if you've seen the show Severance, which you should because it's really good, I've said picture the office space that Mark's group works in. It's an unnecessarily large workspace, devoid of any warmth and with old gray carpeting instead of green. A solo one-armed antique desk sat in the middle of this open room, and it was just completely out of place. A single pencil with the tip broken off sat on the top of it, as if somebody had just finished an exam and left their writing instrument behind. I yelled out really loudly for Tom, once again praying that I would find him in this strange liminal space, and he would just let me outside. I didn't even care if he walked me to my car at this point. I just wanted to leave, Iva said. Everything about this space just feels off, like she had taken a wrong turn in a labyrinth puzzle. But instead of reaching a brick wall, she had reached this strange, hidden part of the mall. And this is obviously a space that wasn't used anymore. But why are the lights on? She wondered. The air feels stale. There's a very unpleasant smell. She had only walked about 10 steps down from the doorway at this point, and since there was no sign of anybody, she turns back. She doesn't really want to be there any longer. But here, her heart absolutely drops. Adrenaline was just pumping through her body. Because on this side, the door had no handle, and she had let it close when she walked in. She brings her palm to the metal door in complete panic, knowing that a handle is not going to magically appear, but she does it anyway. She feels along the seams of the wall, wondering if she can pry the door open somehow. She can see the small rectangle where a handle would have been, but somebody had removed it. She bangs on the door so hard that she breaks her nail, only stopping to calm herself down when she hears the metal of her engagement ring clink against it. But in all honesty, not really caring if she damages it. She is absolutely terrified at this point. Not only is she claustrophobic, but she has no idea where this strange space is or where it leads. And there weren't just two little rooms down that hallway. It looked like it went on for miles back there. And who or what had been making noises down there and not answering her when she called out? She knew she had heard something or somebody when she came in. She felt trapped with no way out. The buzzing of the fluorescent lights above her head are suddenly deafening. Had they been that loud the entire time? Or was her adrenaline just heightening every single noise? As she continues pounding on the door for what feels to her like hours, she puts her ear to the metal to listen for Tom or anybody walking by, but she can't hear any footsteps on the other side. And since the mall is so quiet, she was certain that she would hear anybody if they were out there, but it's dead silent. Complete dread washes over her as these terrifying thoughts run through her mind. What if this room is soundproofed? What if nobody can hear me? What if nobody opens this door tonight or tomorrow? Does she wait by the door in the hopes that somebody comes along? Or does she go explore down this exceedingly creepy back area that she didn't even know existed and pray that the lights don't go out while she does it? Iva sinks to her knees by the door, her only lifeline to the other side of the mall, and she waits for about an hour. Then 2 hours go by. then 3. She's getting thirsty. She needs to use the bathroom. And by now, it's nearly 2 o'clock in the morning, and she still hasn't heard any footsteps on the other side. By the 4th hour, she can't wait any longer. She needs to find out if there's a stairway that goes outside or maybe a doorway to the parking lot. And if she finds one, she's gonna open it. She doesn't care at this point if she sounds an alarm, if the police show up, if she loses her job. She doesn't care. So she goes exploring. As she walks down this hallway, she realizes that this space, it's almost like another mall. It once again opens up into larger spaces. And there's even these little walls separating what look like different little stalls where small stores may have once been. And there's even a fountain with some little stone fish statue. It was like one of those dreams you talked about in your videos a long time ago, she said, where you dream that you move into a new house, then you find a completely hidden room. Only this wasn't a room. This space was massive, and there was a low hum in the background. Almost imperceptible, but deeply unsettling when you feel trapped. Anna walked around this main open area with the fountain for a very short period, and though there were dark hallways creeping out from it, possibly leading to stairwells that could get her out of there, she couldn't bring herself to go down any of them. It felt like a forgotten place where people were no longer welcome. I had never felt so alone or scared, she said. She had calmed herself down enough at that point to think rationally and knew that her best chance of getting out was just to wait at the original door that she had come in from. She didn't know if there were people living in this space, if the flooring was rotten, if there was loose wiring. There were probably a million ways that she could have gotten hurt in this area, and with this in mind, she walks back to the original door. Once again, she presses her ear to the door, knowing that within a few hours, store employees would begin arriving again, and that was her best chance. Regardless, it was going to be a long night, but what other choice did she have? If you are lost, just stay put. It's such a simple adage, but it's a well-known one for a reason, because it paid off. At 7:30 the next morning, the mall manager arrived and opened the door. He found a slumped over Iva who had somehow managed to fall into a very light and very uncomfortable sleep. He was actually with a contractor who had come in to estimate how much it would cost for them to open up the mall into that area that had been shut down for nearly 20 years at that point. Which, thank God. But the terrifying part was that he had not opened that door nor looked inside that closed off area for nearly 2 weeks at that point. Had he or somebody else not opened it, Iva could have been wandering those back rooms for days, and she may not have made it out at all. Have you ever wondered what lies beyond the edges of the world that you think you know so well? Where exactly does that door go that you've walked by countless times but never opened? In the case of Iva, as well as many others, maybe it's better not to go looking. But from the comfort and safety of wherever you're watching this from, I think it's safe if we explore it a little bit further today. Here we will dive into the spookiest tales ranging from the paranormal to the unexplained to true crime. I'm your host, Leah, and if you're like me and you love all things spooky, please subscribe so we can explore the dark side of our world together. We navigate the world every day, believing that we understand the spaces around us. We move through familiar buildings, we walk down the same old streets, convinced that our reality is solid, predictable. We trust in the order of things and the steady rhythms of our routines. But what if, just beyond the edges of our perception, lies places that defy explanation? Places where the familiar twists into the deeply unsettling. I'm about to share another viewer's terrifying experience. A moment where they felt the veil of reality slip, and they believed that they saw something that they were not supposed to. It began with a missed exam. I was ill, and my professor allowed me to retake it during another class's lab session. The lab was in a part of the university that I had never been to, tucked away in the depths of a building that I thought I knew. I entered the elevator, ready to head down, ready to get the exam over with. I remember feeling a sense of relief that I could make up the grade, but also a slight unease about going to an unfamiliar part of the campus. I entered the building, ready to head down, ready to get this over with, but I made a simple mistake. I pressed the button for the lab level, but my finger slipped and I hit the bottommost button. Now, I knew how long the elevator ride to the underground parking took. I had taken it countless times because that was where I parked. But this was different. This descent was somehow wrong. It stretched on longer than it should have, longer than I thought possible for the height of our school. A creeping sense of dread filled the silent ride down. I didn't even know that there was a level this far down. The door slid open, and what I was greeted with wasn't the university that I had grown so used to over the past couple of years. It was a hallway, but not like any that I had ever seen in the school. The fluorescent lights were blindingly bright, way too bright actually, and the air vibrated with this low, incessant buzz. But that was the only sound. The silence was absolute, oppressive. It was a silence that pressed in on you, a silence that felt aware. It was just too quiet. I didn't like it. And I got the distinct impression that somebody was watching me, or maybe listening, or maybe there was a security camera in the corner and I could somehow sense it. And there were no students, no professors, no lab equipment, no rooms. Just this endless, sterile corridor stretching into the unknown. It was the emptiest, most desolate place, especially within the confines of my normally bustling campus. The university, with its crowded classrooms and chattering students, felt like it was a million miles away from this place. A distant memory that had somehow faded on that short elevator ride. Short, but somehow much too long. A feeling washed over me, and it was definitely a primal sense of just wrongness. It wasn't just being in an empty hallway. It was deeper than that. My gut was screaming at me to leave, to get out of there as fast as possible. And again, it was so strange because this was just my school, a public university. And I had never felt this feeling in any other part of it. There was a coldness, an alien quality to this space, a sense that somehow the laws of reality didn't quite apply. And I know that sounds completely overdramatic, but that was how I felt. I felt utterly exposed and somehow vulnerable. And this wasn't just a forgotten basement. It felt like something else. A weird space that somehow predated the university, and I hated it down there. All I wanted to do was leave. I quickly looked for a way out. I didn't even want to wait 5 seconds for the elevator, so I scanned the hallway for stairs. There had to be stairs down here. How could there not be? But there was nothing. Only the elevator. My only connection to the upstairs. I hammered the closed door button, my heart pounding in my chest. As the elevator finally began to close, a door at the far end of this hallway opened, and I saw, with a mixture of panic and curiosity, a doorway that was at least 10 feet tall. Why was the doorway so tall? Who, or what, needed that much space to walk through it? I felt a wave of relief mixed with a profound unease as the elevator ascended back up. What the hell had I just seen? Where had I been? And why did I get such a bad feeling? The elevator shot upwards, and I felt like I was leaving something behind. A feeling that I had trespassed somewhere that I was never meant to be. I never spoke of this event with the professor. I never went back to that part of the building. The memory of that place was too vivid, too unsettling to share. I actually tried to find that level again, to make sense of what I had experienced, and me and a friend got in the elevator. I hit the same button, but it took us to the parkade. It was like that level had vanished, swallowed by the university's foundations, like it had never existed. Was it some sort of mess up that allowed me to travel down there in the first place? And was it now fixed? Or was it all some sort of hallucination? Was it a forgotten service area or something else? Perhaps I, for a brief, terrifying moment, slipped through the cracks of reality. Had I found the real-life backrooms? Have you ever had a similar experience of being in a place that just felt wrong? A moment where the world seemed to somehow shift. I would love if you emailed your experiences to me for a future video if you have anything like that. But anyways, sometimes the most terrifying places aren't the ones that we can imagine, but the ones that are hidden just beneath the surface of the world that we think we know so well. The Backrooms. It all began with a single unsettling image. A digital ghost story, if you will, whispered in the darkest corners of the internet. A photograph, seemingly innocuous. It's just an office space, yet there's something profoundly wrong with it. The fluorescent lighting casts this sickly yellow glow. The carpet stained and damp, and the air, you can almost feel its thickness. You can almost smell its staleness. And just by looking at this one image, you get the definite feeling that there is something rotten about it. But how can that be? It's just an image. How can a picture on a screen evoke such a distinctively creepy feeling? I mean, would you want to close your eyes and be dropped off in this place? I don't think so. This image here sparked a collective dread, tapping into our primal fear of liminal spaces. Those in-between places that feel both familiar and deeply and fundamentally unsettling. Like mentioned in Iva's story, think of empty schools at nighttime, the echoing silence broken only by the creaks of the building and the rustling of unseen things. And that feeling that you're not supposed to be there after the final bell of the day has rung. I think deserted parking lots where the shadows stretch and twist, concealing unseen horrors. And the air feels heavy, with a sense of wrongness that you just can barely grasp. It's like there is something just around the corner, ready to attack. Or another one that really gets me, the back hallways of old hospitals, where there's no staff and no patients, yet the air is somehow still thick with the sterile scent of antiseptic and the unspoken tragedies that the walls still hold. These are places that are meant to be passed through, not lingered in. The concept of the backrooms quickly expanded, evolving from a single unsettling image into a sprawling, ever-shifting labyrinth. The backrooms lore describes a seemingly endless labyrinth of rooms, hallways, and corridors, often described as a place where people can accidentally end up after no clipping or going through a wall. Imagine in a video game, a moment where you clip through a wall, passing through solid matter. That's no clipping. The lore describes the backrooms as a place where you can accidentally no clip into. They are essentially a tear in the fabric of reality that pulls you out of the world that you know and into this unsettling other world. It's a place where the laws of physics seem to bend, where time and space become distorted, and where the familiar twists into something alien. And this world goes far beyond this one dingy looking room. This liminal space has multiple levels to it, each more bizarre and terrifying than the last. These levels evoke feelings of isolation, disorientation, and existential dread. You begin on the easiest level, and you must traverse each one until you reach the end. But that explanation really is too simple. It's actually said that there isn't a specific exit or end to the backrooms, ever. The levels are described as seemingly infinite, with the implication that the goal is not to escape, but to simply spend the rest of your life surviving and moving on to the next level, with each one presenting unique challenges and dangers that get harder as you go. You never truly get out. The goal is simply to survive and navigate the levels. And the key to making it out or surviving in the backrooms is to learn the mechanics of the levels, avoid danger, and potentially find tools or other ways to navigate through them. The level of danger varies greatly, with some levels being relatively safe, while others are extremely hazardous. Some levels offer resources like food and water, while others are completely barren, and your only hope is to simply get out of that one and move on to the next. And just to make it a little bit creepier, each level is said to have its own unique entities. Some are passive, while some are hostile. Levels can range from familiar locations like offices and hotels, all the way to bizarre landscapes like endless forests or even underwater worlds. Let's get into a few examples of what you can potentially face if you happen to no clip out of reality and find yourself in the backrooms. Also referred to as the lobby, level 0 is a non-Euclidean space that defies conventional geometry, meaning everything about its layout simply does not make sense. A non-Euclidean space is any space where the usual rules of geometry, like parallel lines never meeting, don't always hold true, because the space itself might be curved or warped in some way. The lobby resembles a kind of old office building. It features yellowed wallpaper, moist carpet, I hate that word, buzzing fluorescent lights, and random electrical outlets. The layout is inconsistent, causing disorientation and potential mental instability. Level 0's hazards include a lack of resources, leading to dehydration, starvation, and exhaustion, as well as migraines caused by the loud buzzing, and visual and auditory hallucinations. Level 0 also contains a unique room called the Manila Room, which might sound innocent, but think again. This room has manila patterned wallpaper. It has a dull orange light and a soothing effect that contrasts with the rest of level 0. And perhaps you're thinking to yourself, that doesn't sound so bad. That even sounds a little relaxing. But I would encourage you to think again. It's said that this room produces a dulling of the senses. It's a place where you can go in and lose yourself. As you stand within its patterned walls, almost hypnotized by the soft light, a faint whispering can be heard coming from behind those walls. Some believe that those are actually the dull screams of others trapped inside other levels, and the manila room acts as a sort of portal where only sound can travel between the levels. Many who enter this room experience blackouts from its strange effects. So what about the next levels? Does the danger level increase immediately? Do the threats get larger as soon as you enter them? Not necessarily. As I mentioned, the backrooms are infinite, meaning time and progression don't work in any logical, forward-moving sense as we would know it. Take level 1 for instance. Level 1 is also called the habitable zone because it shifts from the claustrophobic offices of level 0 to more industrial spaces. It features large, dimly lit warehouses, concrete floors and walls, a low-hanging fog that never seems to dissipate, and randomly appearing supplies that can actually help you survive. While still dangerous, this level offers slightly more resources and potential for survival than the very first level. Moving on, level 2 is what is called the abandoned utility halls. And this level delves into dark, claustrophobic tunnels with long, narrow corridors. Dark, poorly lit environments, a feeling of being trapped, and increased danger from entities. This level also increases the feeling of dread and danger. And the differing and infinite levels completely reminds me of the show Dark Matter and the multiverse theory. All I know is that if I ever felt myself slip into the backrooms, I would try and find a level where survival was possible with enough resources to live, and I would probably just hunker down and stay there because you don't know what you're gonna face in the next one, just like the show. I don't know about you guys, but I find this so fascinating because why do the backrooms inspire such dread? I think it's multifaceted. First, they exploit the human fear of the unknown, the primal terror of being utterly lost and not knowing what to do about it. Their endless maze-like structures that stretch into infinity create a feeling of hopelessness, of being trapped in a place from which there is no escape. And if that wasn't bad enough, now imagine the silence. Broken only by the maddening hum of the lights above you, a sound that grates on your nerves, slowly driving you insane. The never-ending monotony of the environment is definitely another part of it. The same sickly yellow walls, the same damp stained carpet, the same flickering buzzing lights overhead, the same dark corridors, the never-ending fog. These things induce a sense of sensory deprivation. Your mind could begin to unravel, your senses become unreliable, and panic would eventually set in. You would lose all sense of time, of direction, all sense of self, which for humans, that is utterly horrifying, and it has the power to drive us mad. But perhaps one of the most unsettling aspects of the backrooms is the way that they twist the familiar. These are places that technically should be safe, mundane, and unremarkable. By turning them into sources of dread, the backrooms undermine our sense of security and control over our world. They remind us that even the most ordinary places can harbor hidden terrors. That the world we think we know, that the one we feel safe in, is far more fragile and unpredictable than we believe. People describe feeling a sense of dread, unease, and disorientation in these places. They report experiencing strange phenomena such as hearing unexplained noises, voices, and seeing fleeting shadows. Or, of course, feeling like they are being watched. And I'm not just talking about the backrooms as they appear on the internet. I'm talking about that very real sense that I know I personally experienced in many places as a kid. While these experiences can often be explained rationally, they just contribute to the unsettling atmosphere that makes the backrooms so spooky. They blur the line between fiction and reality, making the backrooms feel less like a fantastical creation and more like a glimpse into some hidden, unsettling dimension just beyond our comprehension. And what about the whispers? The chilling rumors that these desolate spaces are not always empty. And if there are people who need help and they're trapped within the complex levels, why are they whispering to get out and not screaming? There are so many tales of entities, creatures that stalk the endless corridors of the backrooms, their forms shifting and indistinct, and they're glimpsed only in the periphery of your vision. You can just make out something. Maybe it looks like an animal or not quite a person, just in the corner of your eye. Maybe as you turn the corner on one of these dark, endless hallways. Some of these entities are said to be predatory, hunting those foolish enough to stumble into their domain, and their presence is a cold weight in the air. The feeling of being constantly observed by them. Imagine the constant feeling of being watched, the unsettling awareness that something is always just behind you. It's breath on your neck. It's unseen eyes following your every move as you try to move on to the next level. Some of the creatures are simply present, a silent, chilling reminder that you are not alone. And you're not at the top of the food chain, that you are never alone in this space, and you're never safe. The fear is not just of physical harm, but of the psychological torment, the slow, creeping dread of being hunted by something that you cannot see, cannot understand, all in a place from which you cannot escape, a place where you are utterly vulnerable, utterly alone, and at the mercy of the unseen. Their presence a constant, suffocating pressure on your sanity. To me, that is probably the scariest place that I could ever end up, and why I said that Iva's story literally put chills down my spine. The backrooms remain an enigma. Their origins, while we know where they came from, are still mysterious. They represent the ultimate unknown, a place where the rules of reality break down and the familiar becomes alien. They tap into our deepest fears and anxieties, reminding us that there are still places, both real and imagined, that lie beyond our understanding. Perhaps the backrooms can be viewed as a warning, a cautionary tale about the fragility of reality and the dangers of exploring the unknown. Or perhaps they are something else entirely. Maybe a glimpse into a hidden dimension, a place that exists alongside our own, forever out of reach, yet forever present in the darkest corners of our imagination. What I find so fascinating is that these stories, They're a chilling reminder that the unsettling feeling evoked from the backrooms is not just fictional creation. It's a feeling that many people have experienced in their own lives. A feeling that reminds us that the world is not always as solid and predictable as we would like to think. But are the backrooms purely fictional? A digital nightmare confined to the internet's imagination? Or do they echo something that we can find in our own world? A feeling of unease that lurks in the corners of our very real reality. Have you ever been in a place that somehow felt wrong? A place that seemed to exist outside of time, like you had stepped into another world and disconnected from the flow of the world around you. Abandoned structures, forgotten corners of cities, spaces that were once bustling with activity, now silent and empty. Think of the empty corridors of a school during summer break, the air thick with the stillness and the faint scent of floor wax, and the cavernous emptiness of a shopping mall after closing. The only light coming from the emergency exit signs, or the basement of a large university. Its long hallways, too quiet for the noisy campus. These locations share the unsettling characteristics of the backrooms, invoking a sense of profound emptiness, a chilling lack of human presence, and a pervasive feeling that something unseen is watching you. And whoever or whatever it is just around the next corner. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, liking, and sharing it with a fellow scary story enthusiast. If you have your own true scary stories that you would like to hear in a future video, you can find my email down below, and I really look forward to reading them and possibly not sleeping for a few nights. I appreciate you all so much, and I look forward to the next time.